Coaches and affiliate owners, we are super excited to launch our Fit Affiliate Founders League. It is hosted over on the school platform, and you'll find a link in the show notes or a link in our bio over on Instagram. This is a group where there will be high level conversation, high level thinking, critical thinking, creative thinking, a little bit of fun, but the end game is everybody is helping everybody else be better. So I'll see you over there. And welcome back to our next episode of the Fit Affiliate podcast. Tony's now got comfortable shoes on. Andrew is caffeinated and good to go. Welcome back, gentlemen. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you, Lisa?
Doing great.
I'm all the better for seeing both of your faces at the same time. My
We
day
were here
could not
last
be
week,
any
weren't
better.
I think we
Yeah,
were.
we were.
I think you
we
only
were.
missed me 2 previous weeks prior.
Yeah.
Which I know
Yeah.
you're still
Yeah.
recovering from.
Yeah, it's the grief was immeasurable, but we got through it.
Mm.
So today I wanted to dig into a topic we've been talking about in our Fit Founders League over in school. Spoiler alert, if you're not there yet, you should be there. There's a link in the show notes. Come over and join us. Talking about the power of stories and how it is underutilized and possibly misunderstood how to actually convey a story if you're a gym or a coach and trying to do that. But that's from your client's perspective. What I wanted to dig in further was the conversation we were having in there around the fact that affiliate owners are scared or reluctant to share their own personal story. So not their members, not their gym story, but even their personal story with members about what they're working on, what their challenges are, because some of it, and I'll put my hand up, was that, well, I'm the affiliate owner, I'm the coach, I should have all my shit together, I should know what I should already have all the answers, and so you want to not look like you don't. So I think that this is a powerful conversation. It was in our school group to dig into as to what holds us back in that regard. And I think that some of our audience will get something from that and maybe some things that they can think about and maybe put into practice to help increase their connection with their community, both inside the gym and outside the gym. And go.
Off rip, the potential of being judged and seen is scary. So they withhold their stories in because the potential of being judged and seen. I have never understood that at all. Like, I could talk to a room of 1,000 new people about my deepest insecurities within 15 seconds. Matter of fact, it's to the point where I probably shouldn't, because reality isn't like ready for that. You know what I mean? Like, I get into an Uber and all of a sudden be like, hey, so you married? Like, do you believe net worth is important? Like, how many times are you? It's like, okay, we'll stop there. But I don't get why, but it has to be being judged, being seen. That's why they're holding their story back, because maybe they're afraid that people will think they're a fraud.
And I think
got off rip.
It's that, big healthy dose of imposter syndrome that, we're all carrying around, asterisks, except Andrew. But I think the irony of it is, and my lived experience, and this is only me, but most of the stuff that you're afraid of being seen for, everybody sees it a fucking mile away before, and then when you start talking about it, they're like, well, duh. Like, you think that you're hiding, whatever the issue is, but people see it anyway. But we're afraid of that. But you're right. I think that's what that fear of being judged and that fear of being thought of less, or people are going to leave my business if they think I'm not, the next games bound athlete or whatever it is. But it's also, I'm going to say, hypocritical, which will probably trigger some people, because we ask our members to do that with us. And particularly when they come in brand new, they don't know us from Moses. And then we're saying, so tell me your deepest stuff. Well, potentially tell me your deepest, darkest fears and concerns, and we're asking them to do that, but we're not doing that with our tribe.
Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah,
You got to say
both
something.
of you look pensive.
I'm ready, but
go.
I'm giving you a turn.
I mean, I think you two are doing a really good job of discussing the common thought patterns that I assume are present in most affiliate owners. There's a bigger part that I think underlies the whole thing, which is the lack of exploration as to why they became an affiliate owner in the first place. And so I don't necessarily want to make this whole conversation about why. So I know we want to talk a little bit about storytelling and hopefully tactically how to do that and do that better, because there's another side of this, which is because they don't necessarily spend a lot of time figuring out why they're an affiliate. They have a really hard time communicating with people who are not a part of their affiliate. But we'll come back to that part of it. What I mean by not spending a lot of time understanding why they're an affiliate is that for many people, and this is probably definitely going to trigger somebody or get them to just log out. So there goes our listeners at this point. For most people, the draw to an affiliate is an attempt to be able to buy yourself status. And that's a very harsh way to say it, because it's not really about that. But it is an opportunity, right? Like if I plunk down a bunch of cash, an unreasonable amount of cash, most likely, because I could certainly make money much faster, much easier, investing in any number of things, like any fund at this point, or Bitcoin or the Magnificent Seven, you name it, right? But despite this, because here's the thing, post 2020, everybody's making money, right? Like the internet is full of everybody's got a hustle. Everybody's got a side hustle. So, pre-2020, I can completely understand that you don't know how to make money except for go get a job. But it seems like post-2020, 5-year-olds are making money, right? Like at least that's the world that we all live in today. So my point in even bringing that up is that there's a lot of really easy ways to make money that don't involve going to your job that you might in fact hate. Because I think old school CrossFit days, like pre-2010, this was a way out of the job for a lot of people. And that wasn't so much about buying status, because no one even knew what CrossFit was back then. You were just like, this thing, I love it, saved my life, and there's an opportunity here for me to take a little bit of cash. At that time, it was like $5,000, right? To go on Craigslist and buy some rusty barbells, and then not even sign a leash. You could probably just chain your kettlebells to the tree in Central Park. Been there, literally done that, right? Like that was your attempt at starting up as an affiliate back then. But here we are now, and we're in this the early adulthood years of CrossFit, and I think there's a big difference in terms of new people coming into the space, both new affiliates as well as people who are buying old affiliates, is that there's not a large understanding as to why they want to do this thing. And the reason why it's important is that, again, there's a lot of better things you could do with your money to make money if it was about making money, right? And so we should just take that right off the table. And so it's not about that for any of you guys. You decided to be like, listen, I could make probably 15% year over year average earnings if I just buy any index fund, but I'm going to go over here and I'm going to lose money for the next 3 years because it's a small business, right? And spoiler alert, it's probably going to be the next 5 to 8 because it's an affiliate and you're going to be confused emotionally or otherwise. And so you chose to do it, which means there was an emotional investment there. It's just like when you fell in love with the house and you overpaid for it, right? And some of you are probably guilty of that too. And I don't mean this in a negative way, because I still think it's a great reason to own an affiliate, but if you don't spend time respecting, they're like, ooh, that is the problem. Because here's why. If that was the thing that accidentally drew you in, it's still okay for you to own an affiliate, because I'd much rather people who love this thing, who've spent too much money to be here, than the people who think that like they're just going to extract money from it, be here. But if you don't realize that is in fact what you did, you're not going to realize why everything that happens in your affiliate feels so fucking personal. The whole reason why everything bothers you when a coach does something or a client does this or someone does this or something does is because the expectations or the intersection of expectation and reality they're not matching up, right? And you thought like this was going to go much different. I was going to get this elevation and it was there. And so a part of that, the reason I even start with that part of it is that before you can tell other stories, you're going to need to learn to understand your story. And it's okay for you to say, hey, listen, I thought this was going to make me more important. And that's okay, because we can start there. The question then becomes, that's okay. Why do you want to be more important? Right? And it has to begin in that position. Otherwise, we're just layering on complexity and lies.
Dear Lord. So to sum that up, You became an affiliate owner to buy friends. We all know that's why. That's why people. I'm just kidding. That
No,
you said
look,
something.
Andrew, I will say 100%. I thought by opening my affiliate, because, you know, if I'm talking to childhood Lisa, who never was included, never belonged, I bought myself belonging. I bought myself the Cool Kids Club that would be part of. Spoiler alert, you're still on the outside because you're in charge. So people are like, we
You
can't
just
have
own
you
the
come to
house
the
that
party.
everybody parties in. That's the difference.
Yeah,
Like, you're not
that
invited to the party. They're just coming to
Yeah.
fuck your
Which
house up and leave.
was a huge mindfuck for me when through coaching, I sort of navigated that and I was like, oof, shit. And that's why I still had that empty feeling going, I did this thing expecting this. So I'll put up my hand and say, I thought it got me in the Cool Kids Club. It did
That is,
not.
I mean, there was so much incredibleness said, and even that Lisa is very brave, and I commend you for saying that. Wow, a lot to unpack there. So, so okay, I'm gonna go tangible then, because people listening, they're like, we know these guys are deep thinkers. How do you tell your own story? I'm gonna use Lisa as an example. She said that she was still trying to figure out the fitness thing while owning a gym. Let's just say I'm going to take someone, I don't know, someone who fell in love with CrossFit, and let's say they don't have a pull-up, they're way overweight, they're scaling every workout, but they want to open a gym because they felt called to do so. Now we'll go over what called to do so is later, but how do you tell your story without being judged and feeling it if you actually were just so authentic and showing in media saying, hey, this is called a burpee. Now I'm still working my butt off to get this thing. I can't wait till one day that I actually can achieve this. What I do, it looks like this. If you want to do what burpees, you know what? Matter of fact, even if you want to say what real burpees look like, because what just happened there? She said, well, what I'm doing is not a real burpee yet. What they are doing is, and she said it with a smile and an authentic, like, I'm wanting to get there. And so I think when people, if you want to tell your story, you first need to understand how to be authentic. And to be authentic, you cannot be embarrassed. You cannot be embarrassed. That's the number one thing. So if you are embarrassed, there's ways to practice being unembarrassed. Just let it all hang out. Literally, like, I have to watch it, like I'm in a subdivision. I'll walk, I'm walking right by a thing just nude out of the shower. I'm like, I can't be doing that.
Literally.
But I literally don't think twice of that. I don't think twice.
But I think, you're right, Andrew. We want to hide, that which is probably most transparent, and we feel like it's a sense of shame because of that imposter syndrome about, how do I say that I can't do this when I should? There's a lot of shoulds in the business world. Like, you feel like you should this and should that and should, everything else. But I think, I remember early in my journey, someone said, oh, video is the way. You've got to be communicating with video. And I was like, I'm not putting myself on video. But I started in a way that, and communicating with members in video in a safe space of my member group. I'd go in there and do a Facebook Live because I'm like, well, I can't edit it, can't filter it, can't fuck around with it. Like, it's just got to go.
Right,
And then
like
once I got good at that, then I was like, okay, then I could do other video. Like, it was I could stand up and do here's how you should ride the Echo bike, and I'd have somebody on it and just one and done, just could do the thing. Because I started in a way that was semi-comfortable for me, even though I wasn't in there telling my story at that point. I was more talking about, hey, this is what we're doing this week, but it got me comfortable with talking to, a screen. And then when you can embrace your own authenticity and be prepared to step into that, then you've already got the skill, the tangible skill to be able to talk. And then you've got to learn how to talk and tell what are the powerful bits of my story that are going to resonate with the people that I have in the gym and want in the gym.
Well said.
One thing I will say is that if you find insecurity, there is no authenticity. And so if you find yourself being embarrassed by being authentic, you're not being authentic. You're attempting to emulate or project a persona that you would like to identify with out into the world, and finding yourself effectively insecure in your ability to do so, or being found lesser than, and then that in and of itself is embarrassing. Because authenticity requires a certain degree of vulnerability, a large amount of vulnerability, and they're like, hey, I am who I am, like it or not. I think this is why most people find it when they get much later in life. Like you get in your 40s, you're just like, yeah, I have no expectations to live up to at this point. I just am what I am, and like I'm happy to be it. But I just think that that's kind of a sidebar that's worth mentioning. Is everybody loves to throw around the word authenticity, and they tend to try to curate this social persona and experience and put it out there, and then that's why they deal with a lot of things like imposter syndrome and insecurity and embarrassment and stuff like that. Not that those things aren't real. It's just that they are symptoms of a much larger problem. And so somebody's got to get to that root problem. When it comes time for storytelling, that almost doesn't even always matter though, right? Because there's a couple of pieces of this that I think are important. One, if you're going to create a business around yourself, your mission, your vision, your values, your ethos, at some point you're going to need to communicate that entire origin story, so to speak. However, it's not always necessary to be done, and it is possible to tell other people's stories and not have your own story involved in the concept or the conversation at all. It just makes it more difficult, because it's really, really difficult to play journalist and figure out all these important things about a lot of people if you can't even figure them out about yourself, right? So it's not to say that it can't be done, and there's a way to do it, right? The hero's journey is the infinite way to tell somebody's story, and that's pretty simple. And like the beautiful part of an affiliate is kind of going back to what I started talking about earlier, is that it's just full of stories. Every one of us comes in likely for the same thing, right? To get in shape at some point, but that is our own version of what shape looks like. For some of us, it's lose weight. Some of us get back to be an athlete. Some of us, it's keep up with my wife. Some of us, sex the lights on. Some of us, it's run a race. It doesn't really matter. All that's part of their story. And when it comes time to tell the story, what I find more often than not with the affiliate owners is that they don't know how to tell their own story. And because they don't know how to tell their own story, they also don't know where to look to tell other people's stories. And so what they end up telling is a version of a story that they wanted to hear about each person, but nobody who's listening on the other side of the screen, so to speak, has any interest in it. An example of this is, we got into CrossFit. We love CrossFit. We like the things that CrossFitters do. We like shirtless workouts, heavy barbells overhead, crazy muscle ups. And then everybody else in the audience that's looking is like, what in the hell is all of that stuff, right? But instead, if they just said, let's tell the more vulnerable stories, the more authentic ones. Susan came in and she was trying to get her life back. Her A1C was out of control, or this or that. You're giving people something to relate to instead of trying to share something that's unrelatable to the masses, if that makes sense.
And I think if I flick back to the episode we did with Nicole Carroll, and we were talking about the cheese stick fitness brands, and talking about the fact, everyone said, oh, there's so many competitors copying what we do, but they're not telling the stories of how, Pete overcame addiction, or how, Sally, got her life back after having an eating disorder and found some balance, or body image issues, or those really powerful things. And we have them happening in every single affiliate, but we go for the easy winners, like, here, Steve got his first pull-up, or Tony got a 360-pound snatch. And because that makes us comfortable, rather than having to sit down with somebody. And I know we've talked about this in previous podcasts, is how to have, those deeper conversations with members. Is, I know when you joined, Tony, you wanted to lose 5 pounds, but what keeps you here? Like, why did that matter to you then? And what matters to you now? And figuring out that, well, actually, when I came to you, I had no friends. I was living alone, and I thought, if I don't get out of this apartment, something bad's going to happen. So I found a place to go. That. And then people sitting across the table from that sometimes are like, when they don't know how to have those conversations, are like, oh, fuck, but show me your snatch. Like, let's do a video snatch. That's really cool. That'll make you feel good. So we kind of back out of that. So, it's about getting into that space that you can have those conversations with yourself as well as with other people to then be able to translate that into the power of stories. But all the people that we say are copying us aren't telling the stories because they're just get them in, get them out, cookie cutter, process them through. This is our
Which
point
is
of
a better business. Which is a better business. To be clear, if you
Hmm.
want to make more money, that's a better. Tony had great suggestions in the beginning. However, that's a better business, Lisa. And we got to be transparent and frank with people. What you just described is exactly life giving to a lot of affiliate owners. And I'll tell you what, it's hard work. It's exhausting work. And even over time, it might be life. It might start out life giving and end life pulling. You know, I mean, you may see yourself on the other side of doing that, needing a coach to dig you out of the holes, you know, like, so
Well,
that's the hard part.
Once you've had those conversations role model to you because you're receiving them yourself, it's way easier to go and have that conversation. And then you're making it easier for your coaches or the members to go and have those conversations with people that, you know, matter to them. And it's about taking the time to sit with that discomfort and that uncomfortable feeling. And, you know, I was talking to an owner this week where we were actually talking through this concept, which is what prompted my thought bubble. But like, pick the person, excuse me, as I die, pick the person who you know the best, has been with you the longest, that you know, that you can actually, don't do it with someone who's been through the door 5 minutes ago. Like, that's going to be hard for you. Like, while you're learning this, pick the low hanging fruit, pick somebody that you know and sit down and have a actual real conversation with them. It's like, wow, you've been here 10 years and I didn't know some of these things about you. Like, let's connect and do it in a way that, like I did the Facebook Lives in the members group. Okay, got comfortable, got my training wheels off. Now I can go out and have more of these things. But unless you've had it role modeled, or you can intuitively tap into just being a good human, which sometimes is hard, like, it's hard to see that.
Let's start with a story. Let's assume that if you're listening to this, try to organize this into some tactical, logical thought, because I think that we all get it because we understand it to a certain degree more than most people do. But let's assume you spent your whole life broke. Right? You got no money, paycheck to paycheck, dollar to dollar, bill to bill, stress. Where's my next meal coming from? And then one day, you happen to be cleaning the couch and you find a login. And in that login is access to a bank account that has your name on it. You've had it for 20 years. And it's full of all the money you would ever need to make all the decisions. Right? What we're talking about here is essentially that login. Because to Lisa's point, and to bring up the cheese dick brands, they are absolutely eating the affiliate owner's lunch. Right? To Andrew's point, it is a better business, but it's a better business model, not a better business, because it doesn't have impact. It just has revenue.
Right.
And man, is it scalable as shit. And they are going to absolutely decimate us, you, the whole community, if we don't start doing the thing that we need to do, which is find that login. And a part of that that login, that money in that bank account to deliver you from evil, so to speak, is your ability to tell stories. Because those brands, those cheese stick brands, they are telling worse stories way better than you, and they're crushing you. You guys have way better stories and you're telling them, if at all, way worse, and you're getting absolutely hosed because of it. And so if you want more money than you could ever possibly know what to do with, and more income and revenue, etc., you need to start telling the stories of the people, of the lives that you've impacted. That's it. That's the login to the bank. Now, I'm not here to tell you that that's easy. You know, it's simple, right? It's like, tell other people's stories and tell them really well. But it's going to start with, first and foremost, telling your own story, maybe only to yourself. And the reason I say that is that one of the most vital conflicts that I run into in the development of coaches, not necessarily affiliate owners, coaches, is their lack of awareness of what brought them to this industry to begin with. Because here's the thing, all of us that end up in the care industry, we're all brought here for a similar reason. There was something in our childhood that we as children solved for that allowed us to overcome that environment or that expectation or that situation and got us into adulthood. And if I take any doctor, nurse, chiropractor, coach, etc., there's a similar origin story inside that childhood. The reason it has to start there and the reason you have to start learning how to tell your story is that until you know who you're speaking to, which is really that child that endured that, you're not going to really understand who you enjoy coaching. And I share that and I think I've shared it on here before, that was part of my own journey. I found myself struggling over and over and over again because I didn't inherently enjoy coaching fitness that much. I was really, really good at it because objectively it was pretty easy to get good at. 1, 2, 3, do this, do that, produce results for people, figure out what to say, what to do, and listen and understand people. That wasn't that difficult, but to enjoy it and to keep doing it, make it feel like play, it needed to be understood. But what I did really enjoy was conversations like this. I enjoyed sitting down with my clients and creating much larger opportunities. Sure, fitness played a massive role in that, right? In terms of their ability to create confidence and safety and security and stability, and then build upon that, right? But once I kind of started to unpack that, I realized, oh, this was my coaching superpower. This is my unique story. And so as coaches and as affiliate owners, not only do you need to learn how to tell this story because you need to know why you got into business, but until you know who you really want to talk to in your business, you're never going to be able to communicate yourself authentically to them. And that really requires you going back and spending some time in those deep bits of yourself. And I don't mean like, we don't have to get like purely therapeutic, but go back to that childhood and be like, how did childhood feel? Am I trying to save young me from myself back then? And the answer almost always is yes. And we don't need to get into that hole, but that is still storytelling, right? Because even in that situation, trauma is just really anything that's outside your ability to cope. And really what ends up happening with trauma is that at some point we accept that lie as a truth, and then we live our life by that truth, which is a story, right? And the same thing happens as it applies to your affiliate. And so tactically bringing this back full circle, the point that I'm trying to make is not that you have to go back and go to therapy and do those things. It's that much of the time it's impossible for you to tell these stories of other people because you're not sure how to tell the stories of yourself. And until you know that, the whole thing is going to feel a little bit harder, right? But once you understand it and you start to play with it, walk in your gym, anyone in the class, even if it's a small class, there's 1, 2, or 3 stories there. There's 4, 5, and 6. And we don't share those stories very often inside the affiliate landscape. I mean, we've asked HQ to do it. And we've brought Tyson back to make him do it. And they're fantastic at it, but they're doing that at a global level, right? And sure, if you're lucky, somebody in your town happens to decide to follow CrossFit on Instagram and come across that story. And then they're going to go Google, find the website. Then they're going to find you on that affiliate finder map. And then they're going to contact you to the affiliate finder map, but only you, nobody else, of course. And then one day they're going to walk in your gym. Even if that happens, we're talking about weeks. Right? You can do the same thing and you can do it every day, multiple times a day, until one day it clicks. And so the point of this is that those brands, they are eating your lunch because they know this to be true. They know that if they just tell stories and they follow the basic framework of stories, whether that be the hero's journey, Freitag's pyramid, or whatever you want it to be, they tell the stories and they do it effectively. You give people the ability to see themselves in your gym before they ever walk in the gym. And that's how they walk in the gym.
And I think, one of the things that people overlook, and when HQ does produce that content and do a great job, you're right, it's global. So if a gym is just sharing the content that HQ put out, if I'm watching that, I'm like, but that person's not in their gym. Those people aren't there. They could be all different people. And it's not showing me who are the people I'm going to be standing alongside with, that I can identify that if I go to gym X, I'm going to see that person. And that increases what you said is that relatability of like me wanting to come into your space quicker rather than that long tail cycle. Sorry, Andrew.
No, you're good. And one thing that Tony brushed over, which I don't want to brush over on a tangible level, the reason that the other people don't tell the stories is because they don't get inverted. And let me expand on that a little bit. Let me make sure everything's good. It's scary to get inverted. It's very scary. It's very scary to climb a rope that's hanging from a random pole in a warehouse that's 20 feet. All these things that you do inside of CrossFit. Now, I'm not even a fan of all the movement, right? Like, if we're going to do such advanced shit that we're just going to eliminate half the population, probably not the best idea. But there's some things that are even, fairly not that advanced that are mind-boggling to people. And if you sit with a person who's 57 and hasn't been inverted since they are 7, and you teach them to do that, you just got into their intimate space as close as you can before getting in their bedroom. I mean, at the end of the day, what else are you just did that to they don't have that experience. Capture that immediately, because they may cry, right? I mean, I used to skip CrossFit in 2011 when I knew that there was rope climbs, because I'm like, you think my big ass, I mean, it was like 240 at the time, you think I'm gonna go climb that fucking rope? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And then finally one day you do it, and you don't get that in the cheese stick places. And that's where the stories come from.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and a big piece that I think is the one thing that I wanted to come back to, which is that HQ is doing a great job telling these stories globally, and there's nothing really wrong with it. But there's 2 problems that will eventually surface for you as affiliate owners. The first of which is that if you're relying on HQ to tell the story in the marketing of your affiliate, then don't be surprised when you are beholden to whatever HQ does to tell the stories in the marketing of your affiliate. And therefore, you're going to be stuck in all the trends, traumas, and tribulations that ends up coming out of whatever ends up happening, because you're not a part of that brand. The second problem, though, is a little bit more subconscious, and it's actually a little bit more sneaky, because let's just say Tyson's smashing it and his stories are absolutely beautiful and you want to share them, no doubt about it. You start sharing them. Your clients probably like it at first, but it doesn't take long before subconsciously somebody starts to think, or they all start to think, why doesn't he tell our story? Right? And then at that point, they're never probably going to say it out loud, because they might not even realize they're thinking it, right? But subconsciously, insecurity starts to creep in their brain, and they start to take you sharing these other stories as a reflection of their inadequacy, right? And so they think that it's about that, and there's a little bit of disgruntledness. When you have every opportunity to emulate everything that HQ has done with telling those stories, and tell them yourself, because here's the thing. If you tell, let's just say 5 stories a month, let's just say 1 story a month of somebody in your affiliate, everybody in your affiliate, 1, is probably going to share that story and be proud of that story. 2, they're going to see an opportunity for them to become that story. They're going to try much harder. 3, they're going to bring friends, family, and other people in, because they're going to see how much that story moved them. When HQ shares their stories, we love them and we appreciate them. We applaud what happened, but we don't have the same level of intimacy and relationship with that story as we do when it's like, oh my God, that's Lisa. She's in my class every day. I love her. I had no idea. Right. So it's not just a matter of doing it because it's convenient. Like, use that stuff because HQ is putting it out, and absolutely you're paying to use it. So use it, and it's done really, really well. But tell your own stories and get better at copying them. An anecdotal story that I will share that has nothing to do with this is, a lot of people ask like how I got better at photography. And the way that I did that was really, really very obsessive. But I share this because it's an easy way for you guys to get better at telling stories. In that I wanted to be better at photography. So the thing that I did first and foremost was followed a lot of great photographers and figured out where they were shooting photos from and locations that I was going to go teach a seminar at. And then what I would do was take hours researching on Google Earth until I could find the exact location where they stood at and took that photo. And then I would try to figure out what time of day it was. And then when I got to Cinque Terre in Italy, I would take that photo from that location at what I thought was that time of day. And then I would go home and I would try to reproduce that image in Lightroom. Sometimes I got really, really close. Other times I didn't. And I share that because if you just take Tyson's video and you analyze it and you just go find your person most like them in your affiliate, you can ask most of the same questions with the same camera angles and the same lighting and the same post-production.
Great point.
I mean, you don't have Tyson's experiences, but you can get really, really close. And I can tell you that it's a very tactical, very objective way to get better at storytelling by one of the best people in the business to do it. And you have it at your disposal. So you could share the videos, that's easy. Or you could use the videos to develop the skill set. Because yes, we are talking about getting more clients in your gym, but I can assure you that when the days are gone and you're out of your affiliate, the thing that will make you millions of dollars is your ability to tell stories. And so use what you have at your disposal. Owning an affiliate is still probably the best business anybody could ever own to develop business-based skills. Right. And mostly because of the resources that are available to you, not only in terms of like what HQ produces and the ecosystem produces, but the sheer number of amazing people that are in your affiliate. I guarantee you the second part of that is there's somebody inside your gym who does this for a living, whether that be post-production, whether that be video, whether that be storytelling or journalism or any of those things. Talk to them, work with them to get better at it, or utilize them.
And I think, we have all of these things at our fingertips in our gyms. We just need to start at the top. Start with us. Sit in front of a camera. Like literally we trip ourselves up with, I don't have a camera and I don't have this. If you've got a phone in your pocket, you've got a camera. You've got a studio. You've got everything you could need to create fairly high quality stuff that you could just put it on, hit record, and away you go. And then send it to someone, and just start telling your story, because people don't come to the gym. They don't join your gym because of your workouts. Spoiler alert, your community, your coaching, because they haven't experienced any of that yet. They're going to come because of the stories that they see, and they're going to stay because of you.
Yeah. They stay for those reasons. They definitely don't walk in for those reasons.
So you need to find a way to communicate and give them reasons to walk in and discover those things, because everyone's saying it's the coaching, it's the community, it's the workouts. It's not. It's the stories, it's the connections, it's the understanding where it hurts for people and being able to talk to that and show that you can be a light in the things that are dark for them.
Community. I hate the word community, guys. I hate it so much. I want to burn it. Everything has a fucking community. We have a community right here with us three. Prisons have a community. Gangs have a community. Everything has a community. We're not special. There's nothing special. You just really love your community. It's great. That's what you're supposed to do. But I think a lot of people rely on that to tell their own story. Like, just be a member of the community. That doesn't resonate with somebody at Walmart. It doesn't. It does not. In this telling your own story, I don't want people to think like, I know I was tooting my own horn in a way, but like the whole imposter syndrome thing, like everyone has that. There are times where I do something subconsciously. Maybe I do it consciously, and my subconscious is like, that's not who you are as a human. You know, in good and bad ways. Like I'll do something really good, and then my subconscious will be like, you just did that to prove to yourself that you're actually a good person. You're actually a piece of shit. Or vice versa. I'll do something that's probably not the best, and they're like, you did that for the greater good of mankind. Good job, man. So like, I don't want anyone writing in. I think Andrew has split personality. I don't really believe in any of those mental illnesses whatsoever. I mean, go for it by all means. It's just maybe you're blessed, and you have attention deficit disorder, or, you're always talking to two wolves. Right? If you can take one thing, you're always going to feed one wolf, whichever one that is in the situation. And you might feed the wrong wolf often, but for this purpose, feed the right wolf, be brave, tell your story. And if it falls flat on deaf ears, oh well, you gained a skill, like Tony said.
And I think, when we can, I can take us down a rabbit hole, but I'm not going to go all the way down there about, again, it's being able to recognize or have someone external to you help you understand where that voice came from that told you that you're a shitbag human, and go, hang on a minute, that's not actually Andrew's voice. That's a voice of, might be parent, other things like that. My voice is actually a bit quieter, but if I actually sit and listen and I have someone help me go, well, where does that come from? Like Tony said, someone's told you a story or something, and you've taken that as the truth and run with it throughout your life. Then you can actually start to tap into, no, this is my voice. And that makes it easier to push past that stuff and go, no, I'm doing the right things for the right reasons, for the right people. Like, it becomes a lot easier to tap into that when you realize where this other noise comes from. I won't go fully in that rabbit hole, but it's about understanding, what makes you you, and seeing that as a superpower, recognizing, you know, what are your strengths. And we don't often give ourselves credit for what are our strengths. And as an affiliate owner, quite often, and we've got dumpster fires all around us, we feel like we suck at everything. I'm a terrible affiliate owner. I'm a terrible business owner. Even if we use the term business owner to describe ourselves, I'm bad at what I do. So we don't give ourselves credit for the things that, you know, and again, I had this conversation with somebody this week going, look around. You've given me 3 examples in the last 5 minutes where you've made a tangible difference to someone's life. People are coming into your gym 6 times a day. You run 6 classes, so you've got 6 opportunities a day for people to come in and for you to make their life tangibly better after that 1-hour experience. And you do that day on day on day. Tell me what makes you a terrible human for doing that and providing that and getting up and fighting the fight. But we don't attach to the things that make us, you know, superheroes to those people who are coming in. And Brad.
Well, I think
No, that was great.
Before the audience comes for us, those things that Andrew doesn't believe in are very real, and I don't think anybody with multiple personality disorders gets.
Oh, you know what I meant, right? If you're diagnosed like this, is
it's the internet, though. They're going to take that sound bit on us. Those are very real. Nobody thinks they're a superpower. But what is a superpower is awareness, because awareness precedes action, and action is simply just agency. And in this day and age, your ability to have agency seems to be fewer and further between, especially as we get more and more divided, more and more, you know, stuck in the corner, traumatized, whatever you want to call it. You know, our ability to feel as though we have control of the environment and the situation around us is certainly being taken more and more and more from us. And few things provide agency in your life like having somebody who plays an active observer role in your life like a coach does. And I don't mean a trainer. And the reason why it's an important distinction is not, again, because I think of the difference between them. It's that as an active observer in someone's life, you have the ability to bring awareness to situations that seem to repeat themselves that you might not otherwise be aware of. But a good piece of awareness that becomes your own superpower is that, to Andrew's point earlier, if you find yourself in a recurring conversation that seems to be on repeat, no matter how much you change the input, the output seems to be the same in terms of that dialogue. That's a pattern. It must be interrupted. If you find yourself, you know, despite doing and trying and attempting other things and then getting similar outcomes, that's a pattern. It must be interrupted. And coaching is simply just surgical intervention. That's all it is. It's saying, hey, before we do that thing again that's going to happen this time, let's look at the root problem. Because to the point of this whole thing, agency precedes action in the way that awareness allows for agency. Because once you're aware of the root problem, you won't attempt to layer on more and more complexity. And so once we have agency, we don't look to other people to solve our own problem. We will take the situation, we'll take the environment, and we will change that environment to change the outcome. People without agency wait for someone to come save them, right? And so what we're talking about is agency is the mechanism that moves somebody from victim to villain and then to superhero in the story of their own life on this hero's journey that we're all on, right? And so to bring that all back to storytelling, that's what it's about. Awareness precedes all action. And so what a gift it is to become aware of your own bullshit, right? And when you can only do that, though, when you can step out of the active participant role, meaning reacting, responding to, getting involved in, antagonized, etc., by whatever's happening to you and feeling as though it is what it is, and so therefore I have to deal with it. And stepping into the active observer role, which allows you to say, I don't like how this feels. How can I change it? What is within my control and what is within my capacity? And then starting there, right? And so coaches allow for that at a level that no other profession can. And that's why it's so important for us to continue to distinguish between coaches and trainers. It's not because one is better than the other. It's just that one can only do one thing. The other does another thing. And when you realize that one thing that coaches can do and you do that really, really well, you can change a lot of lives.
Well, and also none of us, you know, this isn't we do ayahuasca and then come on and do a podcast. I feel like sometimes people, well, no, and that's the thing is, you know, what's funny is like, I was talking to my buddy who's, I'm similar, you know, where losing that much control panics me, right? That might mean it's very good for me. And what we talked about is, well, you have a coach with you. They're like, yeah, but what if I start freaking? Well, that's literally, you have a coach with you during that. Now, I feel like in 2024, 2025, we're getting so deep with connection through podcasting, through internet, through all of this stuff that you don't even need to do that, right? If you have a good enough coach, you should, this could be a quote. If you have a good enough coach, you should not need an ayahuasca trip. You should not. You should be able to work through these things that are holding you back, the limiting beliefs, the self-doubt. And guess what, guys? I wish I could say that ends in 6 weeks and sell you. That shit might not end. You might take 6-7 years. It's one thing if you, we have actually really, really cool, call him famous priests at my church. He's super funny. He used to be a comedian. And when I say famous, like, is that possible? Yes, there's a few famous priests in the world. He's one of them. And I was talking to him.
Billy Graham?
Huh? Yeah, he's got a Graham, huge Graham.
No,
huge
I said
Graham.
Billy Graham. That was a joke.
Oh, no, I thought you said Graham, like Instagram. But one thing that we were talking about, some stuff I'm dealing with is like, I love how he said this might take a few weeks. This may take several years. Such thing is just.
Oh, he's in and out.
So be patient to yourself. This is like it.
God has interrupted the chat.
Yeah, God has entered the chat.
Holy cow. I can't even hear it. That's how I know.
That's how you know. Hopefully he's still going in the background. And it'll all marry up together.
He muted himself though, so therefore I think
he's I think we've lost him temporarily. But anywho, to continue on with, I know with where Andrew was going before he got struck by lightning, it is a process that's not an overnight process to work through that stuff with a coach or a therapist or whoever it is that you're seeking to move past your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of coaching versus training is, to Andrew's point he was making, is that it might take a few weeks, a few years. And the reason why coaches are so valuable is that through the elimination of complexity and layering on more applications and software and things and this and try this and coaches and queuing and all these things, instead just holding space for someone so they can self-explore is the fastest route. And that's, I think, the beauty of the whole thing. And if you find yourself in that situation of repeating past behaviors and you're not able to break the cycle, congratulations, you're human. Get a coach.
Yeah. And I think, this is where we get back to the gurus and mentors will try and sell you a, 6-week, 8-week, 12-week template to fix everything.
Well, just like Orange Theory is a better business than a CrossFit affiliate, being a guru is a much better business than being a coach because it's really easy to scale training. Not very easy to scale coaching. No,
100%. So I think that's probably a good note to stick a pin in this one. I think we dug into some good stuff, but just before we end this, I want to go around and we like to, whilst we're not tellers of what to do or how to do, what's one thing that you would pass on to somebody who's stuck with us to the end about telling their story and how to do that for themselves? Andrew?
I apparently am back. I don't know what just happened, guys. Like literally no clue.
It should be fine.
Tony, you go first.
No, I mean, the thing that I would tell everybody to do is exactly kind of what I said to do. Just start telling stories, even if nobody ever sees them. The thing that I will always tell people to do, no matter what situation they're in or what position or profession they're in, is start writing. If you just start writing, you can start to think critically and creatively about whatever it is that you're processing or whatever it is that you're dealing. A lot of people call that journaling. That's effective for that reason. A lot of people call it blogging. That's effective for that reason. But there's a few arts that are very, very important to your ability to create a following. And just so we're clear, if you're a business owner, you must create a following, because to be a leader is to be somebody worth following. And so you have to be able to learn how to write copy or become a copywriter, which is a very big marketing term, but that's essentially your ability to write effective and engaging stories that get people to follow you. And the way to do that is to start telling stories and to see how good you can get at it. And so use the things you have at your disposal. Follow Tyson, try to retell those stories, try to practice them, write them down. Don't do anything with them, put them in your Google Drive, but just start writing.
Yep.
Yeah. And remember, guys, I love coaching so much, and I take all of my experiences through sports. That's where it all comes. So if I were to say the first thing, if you are struggling to, struggling is not the right word. Let's say you're listening to this and you're like, I don't want to do that. My best advice for you is to quit. Quit. Be done. Chop it up today. You are done. And if me saying that to you pissed you off, they're good. Like you got a little spunk in you. But if me saying that to you was a sense of relief, and it said, "Oh, thank you for somebody for doing that for me. You're welcome." There's no other way to put it, right? You have to be here in the fight to do the thing. So hopefully, if that made you upset, go back to what Tony just said. He actually gave you something very tangible, but that's where you need to do the inward look. I like more of the inward looking side when it comes to why you're so afraid to tell stories versus here's how to do it. That going back to the Tyson thing, that is the best advice humanly. Like, don't go pay someone 10 grand, listen to that, and just go do it. Join the Founders League as a tip. That's what you should do. I mean, at the end of the day, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Anything done successfully. I had some of the most amazing videos done that I directly took the questions from another interview that I liked. That's all I did. It turned out great. Thank you for whoever put it on. Good artist borrow, great artist steal. Like everyone knows that quote. So, but be done. Just hang it all up, man. That's why I don't think I necessarily work with any clients yet if affiliate, because they're like, Tony's like, great, I had Andrew have a client. He told him to quit first day.
And we're done.
Told him to bag it all.
To be fair, I do tell a lot of affiliate owners that they should quit as well for that exact same reason, because one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got was from Kelly Starrett, and that was, when you feel like you know everything you need to know, quit, because you don't belong here anymore. Because this whole thing is about the journey. So I do think that there's a lot of value in being so abrupt to say, hey, quit if you think that's what you need to do.
And I think that's one of our strengths, is that, we are nothing if not, we don't have an invested interest in just selling someone for the sake of selling them into something. We actually want to do no harm and do what's in their best interest for them. And that's why we'll have those direct, honest conversations. But I think, the one thing I would leave people with is, if there is something that makes you feel uncomfortable and you feel like I shouldn't talk about it, lean into that. And that's exactly the thing you should talk about. And even as Tony said, you write it down and it goes in your Google Drive. No one sees it. You record it on your phone. That's where it lives. Move faster than your fear and take action. Nothing will get you out of being stuck faster than even one small action, because, as to go back to Tony's point, it gives you agency and control. And then it can sit in a phone. That's cool. We're not going to judge you, but you do that enough times, something is going to see the light of day, because you're going to get more comfortable. So take some action, lean into that which makes you most uncomfortable. And as someone who has done that, relatively recently, there's a huge feeling of empowerment and freedom in doing that. So go do that. And as Andrew said, jump in the school group, have better, bigger conversations about this sort of stuff, and realize, it's not only me that feels it, but also understand that, they're surrounded by a tribe of people who are trying to do this better as well. There's a link in the show notes. Come on over. The water's great. We'd love to have you over there. Otherwise, follow us on Instagram @FitFilliate. And if you are watching this on YouTube, thank you. Please give us a like or a subscribe. Or if you're listening on your podcast platform and when we are in your ears, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And also, please, we would love it if you dropped a comment or left us a review, because the gods at Apple and Spotify love that, and we would love that. And we'd love to hear from you. If you've got a question, a comment, anything like that, fire it through to us, and we'd love to talk. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one.
See you later, friends.